Good evening, family, and welcome to yet another beautiful night that the Lord has made for us to rejoice and be glad in it. And this is how we choose to rejoice and be glad in this day, to just reflect on the goodness of God and His kindness, His grace, and mercy. This is our Wednesday night live, and I have beautiful people joining me in today. And I hope you guys will be encouraged, you guys will be uplifted, restored, revived throughout this conversation that we're just gonna have. And we just want to reflect on the goodness of God. We reflect on His kindness and how He has been great to us. And if God has been good to you, please also do comment on the chat, on the comment area, on how God has been great to you, because that is what we're going to be discussing this night. And please do host a watch party, take a friend, someone who needs to hear this might be on your timeline, or someone who needs to celebrate Jesus might be on your timeline joining us tonight. And before we waste any time, we just want to go straight into worship and just go give glory to God, reflecting on His goodness. And all these beautiful people here will be joining me as we go worship God, as we just love God and appreciate His goodness in our lives.
When our backs were against the wall, and it looked as if it was over, you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made a way. Oh Lord, you made a way. You made a way. When our backs were against the wall, and it looked as if it was over, you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made a way. When our backs were against the wall, and it looked as if it was over, you made a way. And we're standing here only because you made a way. Oh, say, you move mountains, you cause walls to fall with your power. You perform miracles. There is nothing that's impossible. And we're standing only because. See, you move mountains, you move mountains. You cause walls to fall with your power. You perform miracles. There is nothing that's impossible. And we're standing here only because. Say, you move mountains, you move mountains. You cause walls to fall with your power. You perform miracles. There is nothing that's impossible. And we're standing here one more time. Say, you move mountains, you move mountains. You cause walls to fall with your power. You perform miracles. There is nothing that's impossible. And we're standing here only because you made a way. Oh, yes, Lord. You're the God who makes a way out of no way. Oh, all things are possible in you. You are a way maker. You are a way maker. You are a way maker. You are a way maker, Lord, and we trust in you. We put our hope in you, God. We put our trust in you. You are a way maker. Oh, yes,
Thank you,
you are.
Jesus.
You are a way maker. Oh, you are a way maker. Oh, yes, Lord.
Thank you, Lord.
Oh, you made a way. You made a way. Yes, Lord. You made a way. You made a way. You made a way. Oh, yes, Lord. You made a way. You made a way. Yeah. You made a way. Yeah, Lord. You made a way. I don't know how, but you did it. Made a way. Don't know how, but you did it. You made a way. Don't know how, but you did it. Made a way. I don't know how, but you did it. You made it. And I don't know why, but I'm grateful. 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 Yes, Lord, but I'm grateful. Don't know why, but I'm grateful. Don't know why, but I'm grateful. Don't know why, that we're standing here. And we're standing here only because you made. And we're standing here only because you made it. And we're standing here only because you made a way.
Oh, yes, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you,
Jesus. All things
Thank
are
you,
possible
Jesus.
in you.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
oh, there's nothing too hard for you.
Oh, yes,
Nothing too
Lord.
hard for you.
Thank you,
There's
Jesus.
nothing too hard for you.
Yes,
Thank you,
Lord.
Yes, Lord.
Yes, Lord.
There's nothing too hard for our God.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, there's nothing too hard for our God.
Oh, yes, Lord.
Oh, there's nothing too hard for our God. Yes, Lord. There's nothing too hard for our God. Yes, Lord. There's nothing too hard for our God. He can do all things. Yes. There's nothing too hard for our God. Oh, yes. There's nothing too hard for our God. There's nothing too hard for our God. Yes, Lord. Nothing too hard for our God. Yes, Lord. We're standing here only because you made a way. Oh, we bless your name tonight.
Give you the
praise, God. You're God of the impossibility.
You are so faithful.
We bless your name tonight, our God.
Thank
Oh,
you,
Heavenly
Holy
Father,
Spirit.
God in whom we trust.
Thank you, Father.
We just
Thank
worship
you,
you this
Jesus.
evening.
Thank you, mighty God. Thank you,
What a
Jesus, that you
beautiful
made a
God
way
you
out
are.
of God.
We thank you, Lord.
What a
You,
wonderful
Lord.
God you are.
That you
Faithful
are the
God, that
reason
is who
Thank
you
you,
that
are.
we're still
Jesus.
standing
Oh,
even
Tembekile
today, oh
Oh, we
God.
Shoshe, you
thank you,
are
Thank
faithful,
you,
our
Jesus.
God.
Thank you,
Jesus.
And
Lord.
there is
And we are
none like you.
standing here,
Tonight
oh
we
Thank
have
you,
just
God,
come
Father.
to give you
because you
We
praise.
have
give you the
moved
We
praise,
have
Lord
come to
mountains.
give you
Thank you,
glory.
Jesus.
Lord. Thank you,
We have
Yes,
come to
Jesus.
Lord,
honor
we
you, to
thank you,
lift up
Thank
your
you,
Jesus.
mighty
name
God.
that is
Thank
above
you,
all other
Jesus.
Oh,
names.
Thank you,
We have
mighty
come to
God.
say there's nothing
Shikiriamashi.
too hard for our
Thank
Oh,
you,
we
God.
thank you,
Lord.
Jesus.
Ooh,
Oh,
you
yes,
are a
Lord.
Thank you,
wonderful God,
Thank you,
a
Jesus.
good
Jesus.
God, a
Thank you,
loving
Father. We
Father.
love you,
You
Lord.
are a
Thank you,
loving
Jesus.
Father.
Eh,
You
Thank you,
are a
Father.
good
Thank you,
God.
Bosarabosi,
Lord.
You
We
are a
bless
good
you,
God, and we
Jesus.
just
Shikiriabo.
We
give you
love you,
glory
Lord.
tonight.
Yeah,
We
thank
We
you,
love
just
you,
give you
Lord.
glory
Jesus.
tonight.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank
Oh
you,
Lord,
Jesus.
we are
Thank
so grateful
Thank you,
Thank
tonight,
you,
Lord.
God.
Thank you,
Jesus.
Taste and
Jesus.
see that the Lord is good.
Thank you, Lord.
Oh yes. that you are good. Yes, Lord.
Yes, Lord.
I will test.
Thank you, Lord.
And see that you are good. I will test.
Thank you,
And
Jesus.
see that you are good. Good to me.
Thank you, Lord.
I will test and see that you are good. I will test and see that you are good. I will test and see that you are good. Good to me.
Jesus.
Yes, Lord. I will taste and see that you are good. I will taste and see that you are good. I will taste and see that you are good. Good to me. I will taste and see that you are good. I will taste and see that you are good. I will taste and see that you are good. Good to me. Won't you taste and see that He is good? Won't you taste and see that He is good? Won't you taste and see that He is good? Good to you. Yes, Lord. Won't you taste and see that He is good? Won't you taste and see that He is good? Won't you taste and see that He is good? Good to you.
Yes, Lord.
I will taste. Yes, Lord. And see that you are good.
Yes,
You
Lord.
are good. I will taste.
Oh, yes, God.
See that you are good.
Lord, you are
I will taste.
Thank you, Holy Spirit.
See that you are good.
Thank you, Lord.
Good to me.
Thank you, mighty God.
Lord, you're good.
Yes, Lord. We bless your holy
Yes,
name.
Lord.
You are wonderful, oh God.
Thank you,
Yes,
Jesus.
Yes, Lord.
Good God, you are. Good
Yes,
God, you are.
Lord.
Thank you, Jesus.
We
Oh,
bless
yes,
your holy
Lord.
name, oh God. We thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
You are good.
Thank
God,
you,
You are
you've
good
been
Jesus.
to
good.
us.
Lord, you've been
Oh,
faithful.
thank you,
You are good.
Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus. Oh, yes, Lord. We thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
Wow.
Wow. He has just been a good God. And as we were saying that song, reflecting back on where the Lord has just brought us from, wow, it's just been amazing. Oh, we are evidence of His great mercies. We are standing evidence of His love, His kindness. There are certain things you look back and you wonder, how did I make
That's
it?
true.
It does not even make sense, and all you can see is just the
Yes.
grace of God.
Goodness of God.
We've went through things that others went through and did not make it, but we made it, not because of our own might, not because of our own strength, but because of the goodness of God and His grace that was just sufficient in our lives. And I'm so glad that tonight we've gathered like this, and we just want to take time and just reflect on the goodness of God, because so many times we get so busy doing so many things, and we don't have that moment where you just sit and look back and just look at the grace of God. And I believe if we can have those kind of moments where you sit and look how far God has brought you, that will give you faith that even going forward he will surely carry you. That even strengthens you to know that if he has carried me through that, that means even this that I'm facing now is nothing before God. He'll carry me through.
He will carry me through it. That is so true.
God has just been amazing. And last week it was just amazing. One of the days where we experienced the goodness of God. And it is one of the days that we're looking back and reflecting on the day, and it doesn't make sense in our own strength. It won't make sense because it's God who has done it. God has just been good to us. And we're just also going to be looking at that day. It was just a beautiful, beautiful day. And would you guys want to share with us on what this milestone means for you?
Okay. Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So we're coming out from I'm sure if you have been around wedding preps, preparing for your wedding, or you saw someone preparing for their wedding, or you part of a family where a sibling was preparing for their wedding and stuff like that, you will know that there is a common a consensus amongst believers. Even though we know that the enemy hates marriage, marriage is an institution that was created and honored by God. And I do believe that God officiated the first wedding himself between Adam and Eve, and we know that the enemy is against marriages. But there's this consensus amongst believers that says anytime you set your mind towards achieving that milestone, getting to a point where you pass just seeing someone to becoming one, there is a consensus amongst believers that you're always going to be under attack. And as believers, we take that status quo and make it a part of our testimony to say, or rather, part of our expectation to expect trouble, because the enemy hates marriages, and your marriage will be resisted, and you start receiving in, all in good intention, encouraging words from friends and sometimes family, saying, you're going to go through things, you're going to go through the tough things and all that. And I believe that we have for a long time believed the report of the enemy, that we make the report of the enemy our testimony, or rather a testament of our faith. And we believe what he does more than what God says. And so we forget that this is a God thing. This is God's will. God instituted this structure to represent a reflection, rather, of Christ and his church, and that he has afforded us grace enough to be able to pass this test. I mean, it does not take away from the fact that we went through so much. We struggled with so many things, but the fact that we had faith in God to believe that this is a God thing, this is God's will, this is his perfect will. And I like what Apostle Mantla was saying when he was asking us questions before we took our vows, that do you confirm that it is God's perfect will for you to be married to this woman? Is it in your own knowledge? Can you truly confirm that this is a God thing? And I have confidence that this was a God thing, this is a God thing. And therefore we then see the challenges that we would then face, that were set before us, falling like dominoes, because God's will is stepping to the plate. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about the law of the Spirit of life, that it's a higher law in Christ. It's a higher law. Wherever there are rules and laws that say you can't pass, you can't make it, you can't walk in, God says, I've opened the door that no man can shut. There's a higher law that speaks against whatever is trying to block you. And when that law begins to take effect, whatever stumbling block you're facing, whatever challenges you're facing, begin to fall like dominoes, each one by one. Some big, some you hear in the week of the wedding, you need to cover this, and it's so much. and it's something you didn't anticipate, and you just see, because it's a God thing. Your family that is standing with you. You've got church family. You've got your sisters, your brothers standing with you, saying, "Doesn't matter what we have to cover, what we have to go through. This is a God thing." So for me, this is a testimony of how God is able to make all things beautiful in His time. Yeah.
That is so true. You've literally said everything. Trust you to say everything. So for me, this milestone just really means we have to hit the ground running, especially when it comes to ministry. There's so many things that we've always wanted to do and whatnot. And for us getting to this point just means it's time to get moving, you know. And that's exactly what it means for me. And it also means we can walk around holding hands and no one will just look at us.
Oh my God.
Know yourselves, Christian. But it's been so incredible. I mean,
Oh my God.
the 26th of September has just been like the best day of our lives so far away. You know, we really, as JP has been saying, we really just have been seeing the goodness of God. I remember during about the week of, or the previous week or something like that, calling, you know, a friend of mine, and I'm like, yo, I feel so overwhelmed. This is a lot, you know. I don't even know if I'm coming or going, you know. Sometimes I feel like, yo, this thing is just, you know, so much weighing me down. I just wanted to pass. You know, I was at a point where I was like, you know what, this day must just pass. So we can just go on with life, you know. And little did I know God had just something great in store for us. Not just for that day, but, you know, for the rest of our lives. On our way, I remember on Saturday morning, on our way to the venue, I had such an emotional moment because it's like, I was just hearing God saying, you know, you definitely deserve this, girl, you know, and, you know, tears couldn't just stop flowing. I mean, we were just driving in the car and people are just surprised. Hi, who started chopping onions? You know, and I know for them, they might not, maybe they didn't understand. This one just, you know, started crying out of the blue, but I was just hearing God just speak to me so much in that moment, and there was just so much gratitude, you know, that was flowing out of my heart. So I remember something Mama Lashley said, you know, marriage is gonna be like a preservative for you, and I'm grateful that God chose this preservative, you know, because she was like, for the kind of person that you are, and in the ministry that you're in, you can't afford to just get married to anyone. You know, it definitely has to be someone who will understand, you know, God's what God is doing in your life. Well, same thing with me in His life. So yeah, this day has just been an incredible day so far. We've just been playing it not only in our minds but literally on the screen. You know, would like maybe from Saturday we might have watched it more than 6 times.
And it's 5 hours.
You guys still can't believe.
5 hours long. You know, we look at it and like, wow, look at this. Like it for me it feels like, okay, maybe I was not there. I need to really see if I was really there. You know?
But I realized also that you kind of cheated on Saturday because you cried all your tears on the way to the venue. I was all macho. I remember having a conversation with TK in our room before we came out, saying, I'm not gonna cry. I've always said I'm not gonna cry. But the moment the Joel started playing the intro to Tsinswalo, and you come out from far away from that corner with Pubs, I had like a shock, like an electric shock, like in a split second like that, and my eyes were so teary. And I was saying to TK, I don't want to cry. And I look over directly in front of me. Ruzani is crying. When I look toward, I'm saying, let me move.
This one made everyone cry.
I moved towards
I'll tell
the band.
you why.
The singers is so
I'll tell you why.
She's
I
about to
couldn't-
reveal why.
I'll
couldn't
tell
stop
you
crying.
why.
Okay.
She has a reason.
It actually started in the morning when I was on my way to the venue, and I played as you are worthy of our praise.
Just love that song.
Oh,
Yes, Lord.
you are worthy of our praise.
I'll praise. Yes,
As you are worthy of our praise. Oh, you are worthy of our praise. And then right there, I remember on the 26th of November 2016,
Yeah.
I inboxed my dad and I said, Dad, are you coming to Mabongi's recording? And I've been telling him about Mabongi. He knew there was Mabongi, but then he said, no,
I have a headache.
I have a
I'm not
headache, I'm a
feeling too well.
mess,
Yeah.
or I'm not fine. And I said, you are definitely coming here. And he came. After the recording, he was so mad. He would post things about Mabongi on Facebook. So when I was driving, and I was like, God, is this really happening? And above all, I know Dad's pain. I know where he comes from. I know we'd share a lot, me and him. You know, at some point we'll go over the phone and cry and speak about the goodness of the Lord. So what was happening when I was especially seeing him with that and that tattoo and those sneakers.
You couldn't.
Where are we? You know, it was just so beautiful. I could. At some point, I said, Dad, you look good.
So you were crying without seeing her.
I'm telling you,
Wow.
it started there. And the other vocalists were like, no.
You're gonna make us cry.
Please. I know that the bride was still coming, guys. Yo, when I had the intro, Tintsalo intro, Lulami, I couldn't
That's
go.
where you lost it.
But literally, guys, when Mabongi was walking down the aisle, we could feel the presence of God.
True,
It
true.
was just
That
too
is
much.
true.
It was
just so
glorious. It was
amazing.
too
It was.
real. It was.
Everyone was just
Yo,
emotional at that moment. I saw you
exactly.
when you started crying. Everyone then started crying because we were all trying to hold it in. And then we looked at her. We couldn't.
Yo, I couldn't sing that Tintsalo. You forgive me, guys. I'll overdub.
Oh my God. You need to come back over.
I'm telling you. Yo, so what I wanted to ask you, good people, is that obviously, what is it that you did? How was your prayer life towards the wedding? Because my life is not the same after that encounter. To me, it was an encounter. It was not just for real. We are used to, you know, I've been telling everyone, even I even posted on Facebook to say I've never seen such a wedding. I've been, even people that would call me and say, Mpokantu, what are you saying? I would explain to Barry, yo, we are having goosebumps. You know, I've never in my life, I'm used to our weddings, we just, we are gossiping there. But this one,
not even done to gossip there.
guys, yo. So I just wanted to ask you both to say that, what is it that you did for us to experience? Obviously, there's a sacrifice that you guys paid. It didn't just come, you know.
If I can I go first?
You can go first.
You know, before this wedding, we were going through crazy. We were going through so much. When I say so much, I really mean so much. Such that I remember saying to this one, I'm like, you know, this is supposed to be like the most exciting season of our life. Our wedding is around the corner, but I'm like, this is supposed to be the most exciting season of our lives, but it just seems like, you know, there's just a whole lot of things happening around us. Like the like all the many challenges that we were going through. It's like so many fires. When you're trying to put out this fire, there's another one
that
you're
comes
trying to
out.
put out this way. There's just been so much, and I think all those things just pushed us to our knees, because we were like, Lord, if you don't save us from this, I don't even know if we will make it to see that wedding day that everyone is talking about. So even before we had an actual date, actually even before, because remember initially our wedding was supposed to be in April. It was supposed to be in April. Even before April, there was just craziness. I'm like, this can't be. At some point, it felt like, Lord, are we sure this is your will? Because why are we going through so much? At a time where you expect a breakthrough and therefore things to move smoothly. It's a God thing, we automatically think if something's a God thing, we just expect everything to go well. And I think for me, the fact that it was fought that much was just confirmation. Everything that is God's, or everything that like swilo hinkwaswo leswi nga swa Xikwembu swa lwisiwa. So it was just so crazy that all we did was just run to God. Sometimes we would get down on our knees and both of us couldn't pray, but tears would just start flowing down. Lord, if you don't help us, we are definitely in so much trouble. So I guess maybe that was just God's way of wiping our tears on that day, and just to comfort us, to say, don't worry, my children, I am with you. I've never left you, even in those crazy times, just for us to know God had never left us. And that's really what it was for me.
For me, I feel like we lost control before the day, weeks before the day, because, like you said, it was supposed to be on the 4th of April, and so we had relaxed because of COVID-19 quarantine, lockdown, and all of that. And when we finally got the green light from the apostle to say you can check for a date and let us know which date, I called the venue and said yes to a date without thinking about anything. Just said yes, it's fine, we'll do it. But then I feel like from that moment, we began to lose control. That's the way I look at it, and it was God's way of revealing. When you look back, when you look in hindsight, you see that God was in control. Because we often want to control everything, have everything in check, and anytime you have everything in control, your control, God has no part in that, because you don't need God. You have everything in control. So we had to lose control in order for God basically relinquish control to God. And so where we were thinking that we are falling short and things are not adding up, God was saying, I will cover the shortfall. I will cover what's falling short. I'll cover what's missing. And true to that statement, by the time we stood on the altar, God had made sure that He covered everything. And so in the weeks leading to that, to answer your question directly, we basically went into prayer and fasting for over 3 weeks. We were just in prayer and fasting every single day, and our prayer was for us to be able to feel with our hands that God is with us. And it's still our prayer that we want the tangibility of God. We want to be able to the ability to touch God with our hands, physical hands. We always say, I have touched the hem of His garment, or I've touched Him, but it's just a metaphor. We've never really experienced that. And for us, we've been saying we want to see evidence. And on Saturday, God showed us evidence. I mean, we were closing, and Pastor Obi, the program director, started singing Alpha and Omega. It's not the best vocals, not that he can't sing or anything. I'm just saying it was not the best vocal moment for anyone, but everybody just joined in, and I could feel my hair stand. I could literally feel, almost physically, the presence of the Lord is here. So definitely, I would say that it was a God thing. That's why it felt like
Definitely.
And I like what you said, that you guys lost control, and it's something that you always preach also on our church extended services. And I remember this other message, I think you said, when we surrender, we win.
It is
only when we
win
surrender.
only when we surrender.
Yeah, and this is, it's just amazing to hear you say that, to show that you're not only preaching it, but you're living it. And I think that's really good. And also what Mabongo was saying, that sometimes when it's God's plan, we expect things to just go straight and go smooth. Usually when God tells you how it's gonna end, when he tells you like his purpose over things, he does not tell you what's gonna happen on the way. But it does, whatever happens on the way does not mean that the promise is not true, or it's not gonna end in praise. It is gonna end in praise, even when it goes through some stuff that you're not even expecting. I mean, even when you look at the story where the disciples, Jesus said to them, let's cross over to the other side. He did not say we're going to come across storms. This is what's gonna happen. He only told them how it's gonna end. And sometimes when we come across those storms, we think, hey, maybe this is not this. Maybe that we should turn back. Maybe this is not the direction. They were still going to the direction that which God has told them to. They did not take another direction. It was the direction to the destination that Christ had told them to go to, but they still came across the storms. But the storms had a purpose. So as what you came across when you were going through that day, those things that you went through, as you were explaining, they had a purpose. They were building something in you. If it's patience, whatever that was missing between, something that you need in your marriage journey, that's usually mostly how God works. Whenever he takes you into a place, before he takes you to another level, he prepares you. He prepares you so that when you get to that level, you are all ready for everything that you come across. I mean, now if you went through all those things that you say you went through, when now you get into marriage, you are more prepared. There's nothing that's going to shock you. There is nothing that can make you doubt the power of God. There's nothing that can move your faith from God, because you have seen him work in your life before you went into marriage. And I think every time, whenever you come across anything in your marriage life, look back at what you went through. Look back at those storms. Refer to them, reflect to them, and say, I know if we have conquered that, there's no way this thing will defeat us. You were already made conquerors from that point. So God had to affirm the fact that you are victorious, you are conquerors before you even come into marriage. So already now you are conquerors, you are victorious. Nothing you're gonna come across in this marriage that will defeat you. We really thank God for what he had done on that day. It was really beautiful and a profound moment. And I think for everyone who was there, they can attest to this, that that moment was not ordinary. It was just glorious and amazing. The presence of God. As before we started all this, we were talking with Mabongi on the atmosphere. The atmosphere was so great, and there's just no way you can control that. There is no, you can go to weddings where they have everything under control. They've paid for everything. Everything is on set, but the atmosphere that you can never pay for. You can never, and it does not matter how much money you have. It does not matter what kind of artists you have on your wedding, but the atmosphere, that's God. Only God is in charge of that. You can never control that.
That's so true. You remind me of part of the vows that Apostle Mandla does. Can we talk about how amazing his vows are? His vows are truly amazing.
Word based.
When he says, when he asked us to repeat that you are authorized by God. Your marriage is authorized by God. I felt like that atmosphere was God also putting a stamp, saying, I approve this. I authorize this. But also something that you were touching on made me remember something he said to me the day before, or on the day I think we took a walk, and he was just talking to me on my own, and he was saying, God is more interested in the journey than the destination.
Yes,
And
definitely.
we make our faith about the destination, and not realize that God is. I wrote in one of my books that God is invested in the trials of your faith.
Yes,
He's more interested in the trials of your faith more than when you win, because winning is already set in him. You understand?
Definitely.
Winning is already set in him. That's number one. Number two, milk and honey, things like milk and honey, because like the children of Israel were going to a land that flowed with milk and honey. When God says, I have a land set for you that flows with milk and honey, He's not going to bring about milk and honey when you arrive. That's already cast in stone. That's already
Oh,
done.
yes. Yeah.
But then He doesn't have to invest in that because He speaks a thing and it happens. But what He invests in is the journey. You partnering with Him, you relating to Him and understanding who He is. And He said to me that the reason why God is interested in the journey is because it's in the journey that God forms character.
Definitely. True.
Character good enough to handle what is about to give you. And you soon realize that when you arrive at the land that flows with milk and honey, it was never about milk and honey in the first place. Milk and honey doesn't get to your head because you have journeyed with God to a point and place that from the point He picked you up to the point you arrive at the so-called blessing, you're not the same person.
Wow.
Your heart is not the same. You realize, okay, so He wooed me in with a promise for milk and honey, but what He was actually asking me to do is to come and worship. It was about worship. You get into a place.
Welcome back, family, and thank you for staying tuned in. We have just been in a conversation reflecting on the goodness of God, the faithfulness of God. And just before we went to the break, we were just talking about the process that qualifies you for the promise. And it's just been amazing. God has just been revealing to us as we were talking on the importance of process, on what it builds, why is it so necessary that we go through the process. And we were just talking about that.
Yeah. So I want to quickly say this. I think we're wrapping up. I know we're wrapping up because we're out of time. I want to say this, that whenever God makes a promise, there is a purpose. God does not make a promise that is void of purpose. So we think that the promises of God is for me to be wealthy. Yes, it's true, but it is not for you to be wealthy, to flaunt, and wealthy to be a glutton, eat and be merry, and just be happy and just be joyous in your own space. Every promise of God has a purpose.
Yeah.
So whenever God promises something, check the underlying purpose through which He is saying, this is why I want to give you this, so that you can achieve this. God wanted to call Israel a people of His presence, a people for His presence, so that whenever anybody looked at them, they would attribute them to God's presence. They would look at them as an example of walking with God. So Him separating them from everyone else and Him giving them this promise was so that they may dwell alone, that they may be self-sufficient in Him. Not self-sufficient really, but have their sufficiency in God. So when God gives a promise, there is a purpose to that promise. And whenever there is purpose, there is process. Because the so that means that promise precedes process. We think that we go through process first, and then we discover our purpose from the things we're going through. Purpose precede the process. Before there was a process, before there was you needing to mature, needing to grow, needing to understand who God is, the journey, walking with God, God already set everything in place. So your land that flows with milk and honey is already done.
Yeah.
It's a misplaced. God is not going to create it when you arrive. It's already there. Your wealthy place, your career, your ministry, whatever it is that you believe God has said concerning you, is already done.
Yeah.
What's not done is the qualification for purpose. God, remember, God calls us and He qualifies us. But by virtue of Him promising you and Him saying, I've called you, it means that He already sees the end. God does not do failed projects, by the way. God does not do failed projects. Every God project is a success. So whenever you know for a fact that God has called you and God has a purpose for you, you must know that He's given you strength to pass the process, the test. But then God sets a condition that it is process that qualifies you for possession. So without the process, there's no way you can handle what God wants to give you. Think about the prodigal son. Without going through anything, without maturation, he gets what he thinks is his promise. And what does he do? He walks away. You see, so it is process that qualifies for possession, and how you respond and how you react to the process of life and your process in God determines how long it will take for you to possess. It's yours already, but it might take 40 years. It could have taken 40 days or 4 days, but it's going to take 40 years because every time God checks your heart attitude, it's still about the money. It's still about the milk. It's still about the honey. And God's saying, I need you to focus on me. I need you to realize that I am your possession. I am your I am your all in all. I am all sufficient and able to supply all of your needs according to my riches and glory. So don't focus on I don't know if it was Apostle as well who was saying that you must move from our daily bread prayer. Because God does that. And many people think that our daily bread prayer is our purpose. So we chase daily bread. If you're chasing riches, you're chasing daily bread. You understand? We need to go beyond that and begin to say, God, what have you called me to become? What do I exist for? Do I exist for a milestone? Or I exist for more than that? Because for us, getting to the 26th of October, September, 26th of September, and seeing the glory of God on that day, for me was just a stamp. You know, when you are crossing a border or when you are at an immigration center, arriving at an airport, or arriving at a place where you are coming to do something, you have an assignment, that stamp that says you are allowed to enter in. You are allowed to walk into the gates. And before that stamp, you are still in foreign territory. And God, and for us, that day was God's stamp to say, I've stamped, you are approved to walk into the gates and begin to extend your purpose in the earth, begin to fulfill your purpose in the earth. So that for us is not an end. It's not like, oh, we've made it in life, this is it. It's just a seal of approval. So you are approved to walk in your purpose. You are approved as a union to be able to fulfill the work of ministry that I called you to be able to lift up a voice, sing louder song, to lift up a voice, herald the coming of the Lord, and bring as many souls to me. That's what it's about.
That's true.
Wow. That is just amazing. Wow. And for more on purpose, I believe we're going to be hearing it tomorrow.
No. On purpose is off.
Okay, but we do have, if tomorrow is off, we do have more. As you can hear, he is packed on papers.
Yes.
So please, on maybe next week,
Maybe next week.
we will let you know. But we have on papers every Thursday. It's now at 6 p.m. So if you want to know more on papers, like he was explaining, please do join us on Thursday. We will let you know. It could be next week, it could be the week after, but we'll drop a poster to let you know on Gerard P's page on when we are going to go live on purpose. It's such an amazing I don't know if I should call it a show, but I feel like a show is not.
For the service, it's amazing service.
Yeah, it's an amazing service, that one.
Before you go, Manifam, can I just let people know a little secret? This is a fun moment. Before I knew who Mabongi was, or got acquainted with, I just knew a little bit about the music, but I didn't know anything. Mpo had a conversation with somebody about me and Mabongi without us knowing. And she was like, when I talk about Mabongi, it's as if I'm describing my dad. When I'm talking about him, it's as if I'm describing her. And I actually do believe that her and that person were very instrumental with God, partnering with them to
Yes.
bring us together. Because even when she mentioned it, I didn't take it. It was not something that I would take at first. I'm like, no, I'm not in that space.
Yeah,
It's
you
not something I.
refused. You're like, no, child, no.
I'm not there.
Not
Look
there.
at them now.
Yeah.
Look at them now.
But I guess maybe she was seeing something in the prophetic, something I had to say. No, I think that there is something here, and they moved heaven and earth for us to meet that day. And as they say, the rest is his story.
Yes.
Thank you so much for doing this.
It's all you. It's all you.
All the single people come to me.
My number is 071.
My number is 012. Okay. And bring your tithe
Yes, and
first.
She's a destiny connector, you know.
Yes. Yeah, destiny. I remember that I told you that when I speak to you, it's like I'm speaking to my bongi. Your hearts are the same.
Ne? Oh.
You are just the same. And you're
And
like,
they are.
no, stop it. I'm not
Look
there.
at them now.
So
Look
you
at
are
them.
deceiving
All
me.
happy.
Well, I think, and another fun fact. On Saturday, I put Paul on blast while I was doing my vows, and she was really just being a good daughter, trying to say, your dates are wrong, okay? I'm like, it was the 11th of November. She's like, no, it was the 11th of December. Don't get out of me. It was November. And
How can I
when we were
forget?
watching the video, she walks up to me when we were in the reception in the banquet hall,
She's like, no,
and
it's
she
not.
makes me look at a screenshot like it was on this date.
Yeah, I remember when I was telling you that, Dad, are you coming to my bongi's recording?
Also,
I still have those conversations. Yeah, even
So-
your first date.
Yeah.
I know all the dates.
She has all the records. She has all the records.
Yo,
So she
I'm
was
that daughter.
orchestrating this with God, because I truly believe that this would not have happened on my own. I would not have been able to do it. I don't think she would have been able to do it. But,
Yeah.
you wanna say something to add to that to close?
Oh,
No,
yes.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just so grateful. That's all. That's all.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, family, for joining us. It just has been amazing. We've just been reflecting on the goodness of God. We've just been reflecting. Also, on Saturday, we had such a glorious time when two beautiful hearts were joined together in marriage. It was just a glorious moment for us, and we thought we want to share this with our family. And we hope this has encouraged you, uplifted you with all the conversation that we're having also about the goodness and the faithfulness of God. Our Sunday service will be on at half past, no, not half past 11, 10 to 12. Please do join us on Sunday at 10 to 12 for a sure word and an amazing worship. So please do join us wherever you are, and do follow us on our Facebook page, Church Extended with an X, so that you can stay updated on what God is doing in this ministry. And would also like to appreciate everyone who has been supporting this ministry financially through your prayers and everything. We really appreciate you, and we love you so much. And thank you for those who have hosted a watch party, those who've shared this post. If you've tagged a friend, we really appreciate, and we thank you so much. Stay blessed. We love you so much. May God richly bless you in all areas of your life.
Amen.